Overnight, Taiwan sent a clear statement to the world, electing pro-sovereignty candidate William Lai as president.
We choose our own president in Taiwan. We are country.
It's a move expected to exacerbate tensions in the region, with China immediately issuing a statement declaring,
Taiwan is China's Taiwan.
But don't let the Taiwan situation worry you. There's plenty of other places to also be worried about. 2024 is set to be the biggest election year ever, as more than 50 countries, home to 4 billion people, are set to hold national elections, including the UK and the USA, Romania and Lithuania, Azerbaijan and Pakistan.
That truly is historic. We should be celebrating this global festival of democracy, but instead we're looking at a world where democracy is actually in recession.
Already the world has seen violence and intimidation at the polls, a Supreme Court overturning the Constitution to favour the incumbent, and voters disillusioned after countless corruption scandals. According to a US watchdog, global freedom has declined for the 17th consecutive year, due to factors such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine and democratic destabilisation in countries like Burkina Faso, Peru and Brazil.
I think one of the key trends over the 21st century is economic globalisation. People have lost faith in the economy, and as a result of that, they've also lost faith in democracy.
It's not all doom and gloom, with many elections expected to be business as usual, including the European Union and its ex, the UK, which could head to the polls this year, where it will almost certainly usher in its 6th PM since 2016. But by far the biggest election by volume will be India and its 1.4 billion citizens, who will decide if Narendra Modi, accused of silencing opponents and the press, should be returned.
The ruling dispensation desires a parliament without opposition and media without questions.
The suppression of opposition leaders is all too common a sight. 28% of prospective candidates in Iran were disqualified. The Belarusian president, Lukashenko, just signed a law preventing exiled opponents from even running. And Russian opposition leader and Putin critic Alexei Navalny languishes behind bars, in prison on extremism charges.
There is one problem though, and I don't know which court to file a suit about it. The weather is bad here.
Ukraine has been forced to suspend its elections as a result of Russia's invasion, but its fortunes may lie in another country's election. In the US, it's Democratic deja vu, with Brawlin' Biden expected to take on Donnie the Grabber Trump, just like he did in 2020. But despite the familiar faces, election 24 will be unprecedented. Trump heads into it facing 91 felony counts and multiple court cases, none of which seems to be harming his chances. Early polls have the election as a photo finish, despite, or perhaps because of, his dictatorial confession.
You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
A Trump administration would not offer the support to Ukraine that the Biden administration has. That could give Vladimir Putin's Russia a decisive advantage. It would be a terrible, terrible moment for democracy and proof that authoritarianism was on the march.
So, just how will the world's democracies fare in 2024? And what will the world look like this time next year?
Well, lots of potential change to come. Getting your head around the logistics of India with 1.4 billion people voting. Okay, that is unbelievable.
I reckon
a lot of
even
democracy sausages.
That's true. I was going to say Anthony Green would struggle with it. But that's why they actually run the election over the course of about a month. They can't do it all in one day. But I reckon the really interesting thing about all of those elections is the way they're actually going to interact with the conflicts that exist already, the wars that are playing out right now in Ukraine, but also Israel and Gaza, but also potential conflicts like possibly China trying to seize Taiwan. And, of course, that was the election that took place overnight. I think the elections taking place, particularly the US election, are really going to shape the heat, the temperature in places like the Middle East, places like Ukraine as well. So I think no matter what, it's going to be a bumper year.
Definitely.